Brett Proctor is a chiropractor who happens to own a lot of supercars. So stick around and hear his full story on how he got to where he is and the wisdom he has to share. Enjoy. Humans have been telling stories for thousands of years, and here's why. Stories activate our emotions, and whenever you combine emotion to new information, that knowledge sticks with us for a lot longer. That's why I'm on a quest to discover true modern stories by the people who lived them so that we may all learn wisdom from it. My name is Cole. Thanks for joining me on the summit of Mentor Mountain. Well, Brett, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So you're a chiropractor. What made you want to get into chiropractics?
Okay, so it's a little bit of a weird story. I was in college and I wanted to go into business, and I started thinking about, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know, like, graduating with a business degree, what direction that would take me, because it seems like the business degree could take you anywhere you wanted to go, and I liked that, but I wanted a little bit more focus. So I literally got the phone book out back then and started flipping through the yellow pages, and it was going A through Z. I kind of like body work, like body shop. I took a lot of classes at Utah Valley University. It was actually Utah Valley State College when I was in high school. I was taking that, and then it was Utah Valley, or no, technical college when I started in high school, State College, and then it
UVSC.
Yeah, UVSC.
Nice.
So I was down there, and I didn't know the direction I wanted to go, so I started just flipping through the yellow pages. I got to chiropractic. I called. I'd never even been to a chiropractor before. I went and job shadowed a few people and liked it. So that's the direction that I took. Just seems like
cool,
a good
man.
job.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure. And so, did you join a different, like, a practice right out of college, or did you just decide, you know what, I have an entrepreneurial bug in me, I want to start my own practice? How did that work out?
I mean, I talked to some guys. The ones that I job shadowed, I ended up working for them for 2 years overall, but I was there for about 6 months, and they're like, dude, we got to pay you, because I was volunteering there, and
we got to pay you.
We got to pay you, or you got to leave, but you can't just hang around forever. So I worked like 1 or 2 days a week and just did like their back office, chiropractic assistant stuff. And I just liked it. So my goal was to come back and work with that group. There was 4 doctors, and they were in Orem, Utah, and good dudes. But I got into school in St. Louis, Missouri, and they had broken up at that point. They had kind of dissolved their practice into 2 different groups. So I kind of jobbed in both of them upon graduation, and chose one group of the doctors and went with them. And, like they bought into my clinic, like helped me out to be like 25%. I think they put up like $7,000 to help me get going. After the 1 year mark, I'd repaid them back, 30, 40 grand. And I was like, I just don't need you guys. So I bought them out and did my own thing. So I still say I did it myself, because they never came and helped me. And that's not a discredit to them. They're good people, but they have their own practice, and they were kind of investing into the group, into me.
Yeah.
But, I'd say their $7,000 investment paid off, but ultimately, yeah, I just kind of did it all myself.
So how does a new chiropractor find patients?
Back then, I remember one of the first days that I was out trying to do marketing. I spent like 8 hours in Kmart, and there was like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it was sucky. It was awful. I remember I was there, and I was you're just trying to talk to anyone, and I'm like such a newbie. I'm trying to, like, get my name out, and I kind of knew the manager there, and they're like, hey, you can come hang out in our health department and just talk to people. And I remember I was standing there talking, and some guy walked by, and he's like, hey, you're a chiropractor? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, so am I. And he's like, but I'm doing construction now. And I was like, oh, okay. But, he's like, good luck. And chiropractic's a little bit hard, because people know who you are, but, it's not quite as mainstream as, like a traditional medical doctor, and everyone goes to see them. It's kind of like, I feel like you're going fishing or hunting a little bit more. You're trying to find those patients. And so I from day one focused a different avenue of chiropractic. So most of my focus has been on auto accidents and helping people out with that versus the traditional chiropractor that is seeing a little bit of everything, kind of like more of a family medicine practice.
Yeah.
So my business has been based off of a lot of word of mouth, a lot of referrals. So we're talking to attorneys and, just old patients, trying to let people know what we do. And so a lot of door to door. I served a mission for my church, and there's a lot of knocking on doors for that. And so I feel like that kind of prepped me for my business, because literally it's like two full days a week going out and just getting rejected and trying to pass out business cards to businesses and trying to set up things like that. The Kmart was the only one time I did that one, but it's like trying to go on and present myself to businesses and gyms and places that, people get hurt, and, you're just trying to like let people know who you are, and buying lunches for law firms and trying to get your foot in the door. So yeah, it's going to medical doctors, trying to explain what we do. A lot of people just didn't care. They're not trying to help me grow my business. So I don't know. It was tough back then.
As time's gone on, Brett's also tried a bunch of other types of marketing.
We've done a lot, like Google. We used to do newspaper ads. I've been on the radio. We've done a couple commercials. But really, like, I'd say 95% of our business comes from word of mouth, and kind of more of the mindset of going out and finding these patients. A lot of people, specifically in car accidents, don't know. I always felt like they were underserved. Like they get in a car accident and nobody really calls them and tells them that they can go see doctors, much chiropractor, physical therapist, massage, and that the auto insurance would pay for it. That nobody's like kind of like calling them up and telling them that. So we're trying to educate people on getting something done. And we feel like we're the best bet for it, because we get them in and then we can direct them to medical doctors, or take the x-rays, or send them off for MRIs, or direct them to a concussion specialist, or, if somebody needs something really bad, they need a surgery. So we've had people that they've been scared because they don't have health insurance, and they don't know that somebody's going to help pay for their bills. They don't understand that. They kind of think a lot of times that people were thinking car accident, auto insurance pays for my car to get fixed, but not me. So yeah, a lot of patient education.
So we know that Brett's practice must have grown, but how big and how fast did it grow?
We grew pretty much every year for about the first 12 years. We grew some percentage every single year. And then about, year 12, we stabilized and kind of been at where we're at. I've added new practices and different things along the way, but, my main core chiropractic offices kind of got to their peak right then. So I feel like that's another thing, is just kind of being a little bit innovative on what we do. I've opened some physical therapy offices to kind of transition people away from chiropractic once they get to that point that they need something different. I've partnered recently with my offices with a couple other doctors, where now we have a bit more A to Z patient care, where it's chiropractic, it's physical therapy. We have a concussion bit, we have a surgical bit, we have medical, we have pain management. So now we kind of service the patients completely for what they need. And it's helped a lot. We're not struggling to find a medical doctor that takes auto insurance to do the billing. So yeah, it's constantly evolving, but I feel like we're really dialed in at this point, and growth is still happening. It's just, maybe not as much as it was before.
Now, there's always a bit of a slowdown when your business hits a certain point, but Brett also attributes that to the fact that he likes to spend time with his family and do other fun things, because life is more than just building a business. He also talks a little bit about the struggles of doing so many horizontal integrations with his business, meaning adding the physical therapy aspect, the surgical, all these things. Here are the challenges that come along with that.
The biggest hurdle is not being the boss. I've been the only boss, and I've got awesome staff, and I've got them trained up where we're just really good at what we do, and we don't have as many flaws as maybe some other clinics. So combining with other people and letting go of control kind of sucks. Like that's the hard thing is I've had a lot of other business partners over the years in other business ventures, and they've always sucked. It's always not.
Oh,
It's always hard to not only trust someone, but allow them to do something different than me. Because I feel like if I'm doing it, I got it. I can figure this out, and I'm definitely not the smartest guy, but I'll figure it out somehow. And then when you're with these business partners that have gone bad, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done this. I should have just done it myself, not trusted anyone. And I've got a good I feel good about these partners that I have. They're good people. And so that's really what's made me comfortable with like combining up, because I'm losing a lot of control on my clinics by doing this.
Yeah, I would imagine. And that's very, very hard, I'm sure, because you've put a lot of work into what you do, it sounds like, and training your staff. And yeah, that's rough. What advice would you give to someone then if someone is out maybe speculating on bringing on a business partner? What advice would you give to that person?
It should be good to have uncomfortable conversations. And early on, that was hard for me to kind of call people out. And like, at this point, I like to have all the hard conversations up front of what would this look like if this happened? If this bad thing happened to us or our company, how does this look for us? Who's doing what to fix it? And so like that would be the advice is if you're contemplating having a business partner or going into business and getting a business partner with someone, all of the hard stuff should be discussed first and put everything in writing. Early on, I couldn't afford an attorney, like a good attorney. I talked to attorney friends of mine and they'd give me some advice, but now I have the mindset of, the more expensive the attorney, I'm happy to pay those bills because it's usually, like my attorneys are worth it and they've saved me a lot of money. But early on, I get it if it's not practical, but everything should be written down. There shouldn't be any just handshake deals. There shouldn't be any, well, just trust me, I've got your back situation. I don't have any problem going into business with friends or family. Another good piece of advice that was hard to swallow at the time was, if you get into business with someone and it goes south, is it worth losing a relationship over?
For those of you who are curious about Brett's other businesses, here we go.
First one, so I got into starting to make a little bit of money, and I remember realizing how much I was going to have to pay in taxes. And so I remember I was scrambling to find ideas. And so one of the things that you can do is you can buy equipment and use it as like a tax write-off. So I remember I bought some snowmobiles and some four-wheelers and I was going to rent them out. And so that was one of the bad business ventures eventually that it was fine, but it took a long time to figure it out. But I partnered with a guy and I bought a lot of equipment and we rented it out, and it was a great business. And I kept reinvesting a lot of money into it to buy boats and wave runners and side-by-sides and all these fun things. And the thing that I didn't like is I never used this stuff. And every time I did use it, it was always broken. So I didn't really want to use my boats and so that, but it was, I feel like a lot of businesses are created out of like necessity. it was a good business because I didn't have to put my time into it. I just had to buy the stuff. And then my business partner ran the company, and it didn't work out as good as it could have in the end. So we got to a point with that business partner, and I remember having a conversation with them one day. And he said, well, I want to be where you're at. I want to be the investment guy. I don't want to be the manager and run this company. I'm like, well, that's kind of what you're bringing to the table. And so I got to a point where I didn't want to put any more money into that company. Company was where it should be. You have to get to a point where you have to call it, just be like, this is as good as much as I feel comfortable investing into this. And so I remember we would go to these chiropractic conventions every year down in Las Vegas. And I was walking down the strip and I was like by myself. I'm not really like, I don't drink and, I'm not big into gambling or anything. So like Vegas is kind of boring for me. Like I was by myself and there was a car rental business. There was an old Ferrari 360 Spider on the strip, and it said rent me. And so I was like, maybe I could figure that out. So I came back to Utah and I called a couple of those rental businesses and interviewed a couple of them and chose one eventually, and we worked out a deal. And I remember I bought a red Ferrari F430 Spider, super cool car. And the plan was to rent it out for 5 years. And then I would be able to take the car because it would be kind of worthless at that point. It'd be beat up a little bit. And I remember like 6 months in, they called me back like, we need another car. And then a couple months later, we need another car. So they had started their business because there was an exotic dancer that needed to get rid of all of her cars. And so they started renting them out for her to make her payments. And then they took a cut. And so when I stepped in, we really kind of like launched their company. We started buying, and I think I got up to 13 different cars. And the girl at some point, they got rid of her because she was just trying to make her car payments. She got in over her head. And and so at some point I got up to about 13 cars down there with them. And then that business, the managers were just not great. So then I just kind of closed that one down for a little while. So anyways, that's how I got into the car business.
So out of all the cars that you've rented and purchased, which one's your favorite to drive?
So I don't know. I don't love McLaren. McLaren's a nightmare when it comes to the rental business. They're cool cars, but they're like service nightmares. The closest McLaren dealership was in like Arizona. So if something went bad, you ship the car there, it could sit for 6 months. And I think they fixed a lot of their problems, but back then it was really kind of like a killer to have a rental car. Lamborghinis are super solid. I love the Huracans, and I've got a couple of those still. But I've always had a good, healthy relationship with Ferrari. I love Ferrari 458. So
yeah,
I love that.
They're the most beautiful cars, I think, on this planet.
Yeah,
I think awesome. Ferrari just makes a beautiful car.
Yeah.
I'm more of so I think Ferrari is the most beautiful car. I love the new F8s. They're just awesome. But the Porsche 911 Turbo S, I think, and I know it sounds like a vacuum cleaner, but I think they're so cool. That's awesome, man. And you also did a private jet, right? You
tried that.
You tried
it. So
why didn't you like that?
Once again, it was managers. We were pitched. I had a couple friends, and we were pitched the idea. They came in and showed us how they could charter it and all of the money that we would make. And we kind of we did a lot of homework. We looked at it. We felt good about it. And based off of everything, it should have been fine. But the management company was set up that there was a lot of problems. They had their own internal problems that we couldn't have foreseen. They had staffing issues, reporting issues. They had people that were, stealing from them. So like a lot of things that just were unforeseen to us. And it took us a long time, and it's cost us a lot of money personally to experiment with that. but I have a pretty high risk tolerance. So, lesson learned. But later we found out you probably shouldn't buy a plane if you're looking to make money. If you can afford the plane and you lose a lot of money monthly, then go for it. But we were mostly looking at it as a business opportunity, not necessarily for the ability to fly this plane wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted. It was pitched different than what it turned out to be.
Yeah, I can see that. And you think about like the airlines too, at least commercial airlines, their margins are always super thin. So I could see that.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest contributor to your chiropractic success?
I'd give it a really healthy dose of hard work. I'd say that was probably, when it comes down to it, I do feel like I work harder than a lot of other people. I don't feel like I'm smarter by a long shot. I hire smarter doctors than me for sure. I feel like I'm a great chiropractor. I don't feel like I'm I feel like I'm really good at what I do, but just willing to do a lot of things that most people weren't. So I had a lot of classmates and other colleagues and chiropractors, and a lot of people with friends of friends that knew a chiropractor, and they'd be like, hey, he's not doing great, or she needs some. And so I've coached a lot of other friends and given advice, but what I've found is in actually doing it, very few people do it. My success hasn't been overnight. It's taken years and years and years. So people are looking for a little bit quicker turnaround, a little bit quicker response. And I didn't know that going into it, how long it would take, but I just continued at it for so long and made it work. So there's a lot of luck, a lot of skill, confidence, all those things come with time. But the number one thing was just willing to work hard and just suck it up. Maybe because I am not the smartest, or maybe because I am not the greatest at other things, I'm willing to like admit my flaws and be like, yeah, all I got is hard work. So, we'll figure this out.
That's great. So what's your vision for the future, profession wise or not professionally?
Profession wise, I'll just keep with this group that I'm with for my chiropractic offices. That, to me, that's my bread and butter. That's what if I'm going to do any other businesses, I have to be comfortable at one spot, and so that one's always been comfortable. So I can be a little bit careless and a little bit reckless, like that plane we talked about. We made an investment into it. It didn't turn out great, lost some money, but I'm also a little bit different. Like I need to have my foundation, my house, my cars, stuff like that, like paid before I go and screw any of that up. I'll play with some monopoly money, and if it sucks, it sucks, but I'm not going to trip myself up and go for broke. It's not worth it.
Right on. Cool. Well, Brett Proctor, thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cole.
There is always a better way to do something, but if you get caught up in that, you're going to end up missing out on just doing the work and getting it done in the first place. First thing you got to do is just show up. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Mentor Mountain. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, give it some appreciation, and give that like button some love as well. And I will catch you on the next Mentor Mountain. Bye.